Part 1, The Rise of Africa. Hello and thank you for tuning back into our channel. This is the evening news on May 26, 2025. Today marks the anniversary of the establishment of the Organization of African Unity in 1963, the precursor to the current African Union, AU. Russian President Putin has sent congratulatory messages to African nations on this special occasion. In recent years, Africa has shown a strong resurgence, particularly led by Burkina Faso, which has initiated a movement of self-reliance and independence, breaking away from dependence on the West. Images of students studying by oil lamps and people living in hardship, reminiscent of Vietnam in the 1960s, still persist, evidence of the heavy legacy left by colonial regimes. After decades under French colonial rule and a false narrative of civilizing missions, many African nations were left devastated. Colonial policies led to the deliberate ignorance of populations, denial of access to education, and exploitation of labor, with locals treated like mine workers in their own homelands. But times are changing. Young leaders like Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traoré are emerging as new icons. Despite facing dangers from rebels and external forces, his strong leadership and independent mindset have inspired widespread admiration across the region. Ghana, Burkina Faso's neighbor, is also showing a desire to follow a similar path. This is not mere imitation but an inevitable trend. A new wave of sovereignty and independence is sweeping across the continent. The construction of a high-speed railway connecting Burkina Faso to Ghana's capital on the Atlantic coast will provide a vital sea route for landlocked Burkina Faso, a strategic breakthrough. If Togo joins this movement, the region could see a significant leap in infrastructure and trade connectivity. Across the continent, from Guinea to Senegal, major changes are unfolding. Senegal has just declared a complete break from French influence. Landmarks once named after French figures will now bear the names of national heroes. This is not merely a change of street signs but an assertion of cultural sovereignty and a restoration of national pride. There is no reason for an African nation to honor the names of those who once invaded and oppressed them. In Nigeria, one of the region's most pro-French and authoritarian governments, tensions are rising. The current president faces immense pressure as neighboring countries like Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Ghana gradually sever ties with the West. Speculation about a potential coup is rife. As the wave of reform and resistance against foreign influence surrounds Nigeria, internal government pressures are inevitable. Meanwhile, Namibia has a new president, Ms. Natumo, an economist with a reformist and independent vision. Alongside Ibrahim Traoré, she is driving a new breeze through African politics. Just hours ago, Burkina Faso detained a foreign executive for illegal resource exploitation. This decisive action demonstrates the nation's determination to reclaim control over its resources and assert genuine sovereignty. The movement to break free from the shadow of colonialism is spreading and gaining strength. It is not merely political or economic but a continent-wide awakening, striving for true self-determination and prosperity. Part 2, West Africa's Wave of Independence, Europe in Turmoil ****. The high-speed railway connecting Burkina Faso to Ghana's coast will give this landlocked nation its first access to the sea. This is a critical factor for Burkina Faso's survival. If Togo, which is showing signs of shifting toward an anti-dependency stance, joins the effort, building a regional infrastructure network becomes entirely feasible. Capitals like Lome, Togo, Monrovia, Liberia, Conakry, Guinea, and Lagos, Nigeria, are all coastal. For landlocked nations, reaching the ocean is not just an economic goal but a matter of survival. Burkina Faso is pushing forward with electrification, road construction, airports, banking, and agricultural reforms, developing everything its people need. The public is enthusiastic and supportive of the government. In Senegal, the new president has officially severed ties with French influence, even demanding that all buildings and avenues named after French figures be renamed after national heroes. This is not just about changing names, it's about reclaiming history, restoring pride, and asserting cultural ownership. No nation once colonized should honor its oppressors in the heart of its capital. Meanwhile, Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, remains heavily influenced by the West. President Tinubu's administration is seen as pro-French and authoritarian, facing the risk of being surrounded by the wave of independence from neighboring countries. While Tinubu tries to consolidate power, the possibility of a coup cannot be ruled out, especially as anti-French movements encircle West Africa. Even within the government, stability is uncertain. Historical upheavals often come from unknown figures, as seen in past coups. If Nigeria falters, it could mark the complete collapse of pro-French forces in West Africa. Currently, nations like Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have formed a self-reliant alliance called the Sahel Alliance. Guinea, Togo, and even Cameroon are showing internal unrest and signs of leaning toward this trend. If this continues, West Africa could fully break free from Western influence, forming a new geopolitical entity. Beyond Africa, other notable events have occurred. In Vietnam, a shocking and unprecedented incident took place when French President Macron was slapped by his wife at Nha Bai Airport, in front of the media. This action caused an international stir and was likened to a blow to the European Big Brother image Macron has tried to cultivate. Though a personal matter, in the context of France's efforts to assert global influence, this has become a diplomatic scandal. In Europe, leaked information suggests the United States is considering withdrawing its troops from the continent. However, European nations have requested that this be kept secret if it happens, to avoid undermining NATO. A withdrawal, even if discreet, would significantly impact the balance of power. In late June, a NATO summit is scheduled in The Hague, Netherlands, gathering 45 heads of state and foreign ministers. However, there is a possibility that US President Trump may not attend. This further clouds NATO's future, especially with the ongoing war in Ukraine showing no signs of resolution. Additionally, a German state premier has called for restarting the Nord Stream pipeline project, previously destroyed. This signals that Europe's energy needs are overriding political boundaries. Even Slovenia's president has urged the EU to re-establish diplomatic ties with Russia if the Ukraine crisis shows signs of de-escalation.